Good evening. You're listening to the Fumblerooski Podcast by Power 88 and Fans Only Sports Network. I'm Adam Wright with Justin Tucker and Justin Hill with us tonight, and we have a big announcement for our show for this summer. So our Tuesday episodes are all planned out for all the way up through the summer and into preseason. So we're going to be doing our second annual player rankings. So starting today, we're going to be ranking safeties today. On next Tuesday, June 7th, we're going to be ranking linebackers, top 5 linebackers, then corners, followed by edge rushers, tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and then we're going to hit some power rankings, just top 5, and we'll probably do top 10 teams because everybody wants to hear the top 10 teams going into this year. And then we're going to look at NFL honors predictions. So like the MVPs, offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. And that will lead us all the way up to August 2nd. So the first game, which was the Hall of Fame game, August 4th. And we have our Thursday episodes planned out. And we're going to get to that tomorrow. We'll announce everything that we have for that. So we have a great summer planned for you guys, and it's going to be incredible being able to get some content out for you guys. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy your summer with some quality football content. So with that, we are going to be ranking the top 5 safeties in the league going into this 2022 NFL season. So Justin Tucker, we'll start with you. Who do you have at number 5?
All right, so as I looked around and saw the landscape of safeties, I saw there's quite a few safeties that I really admire. And it was hard to pick and choose who I wanted as my top 5. But at number 5, I chose Harrison Smith, Minnesota Vikings safety. I think he's at 5 mainly because he's up there in age now, so it's about time for him to start to, be on the decline. So
double ARP cards.
He's not that old, but he's up there in age for safeties. So sooner or later, I think he will start to decrease, whether it starts this season or next season. So I believe that's why he's 5. But if it was like in his early to late 30s, late 20s, I would have had him much higher. Harrison Smith, whatever you need from him, he can do it all. He can play man, he can play zone, he can play on the line, he can play linebacker, he can disguise, he can do whatever you want in a linebacker. He may not necessarily be elite at all those necessary things, but he's very good at all those things. And when you are very good at all of those things, it becomes very good for a defense. So Harrison Smith is my number 5 guy.
All right, there you have it. So Jay Hill, who do you have?
Thanks, Adam. So for my number 5, I have newly acquired from the Baltimore Ravens, your Ravens, Justin Marcus Williams. This acquire was really great. I put him at my number 5 because I think he can definitely help the Ravens this year after a ton of losses regarding with the Ravens season last year, including their defense. If you look at his stats from 2021 season, he only had 2 interceptions, but I think he can make a tremendous impact with this Ravens defense. He made a terrific impact in his years with the Saints. So let's see what he can do with the Baltimore Ravens with his newly acquired team. Also, he just received a 5-year, $70 million deal. So if you're worth that type of money, you're definitely worth a good shot to make a tremendous impact on the field this season.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. So my number 5 safety entering the 2022 season is Budda Baker. I like Budda Baker because he might be slightly undersized, but he can really play anywhere. He can play in the box, and he can drop back in coverage, and he can get a lot of pass breakups. I really like this guy. He kind of burst onto the scene. He's known for all of the wrong reasons, from the interception return where he thought he had a pick 6, but then DK Metcalf ran him down, and he's really well known for that, but he's also well known for being a great safety, and I like him again going into 2022. And for this Cardinals defense and the team as a whole really looking to contend this year, he's going to be a big piece of that.
I agree. I think that's a solid pick for top 5.
All right. Yeah. I don't know. I like Buda Baker. He's left a good taste in my mouth the past couple of years. But who's your number 4, Tuck? What?
You left a good taste in your mouth, Adam?
God, you don't.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to, but you asked.
Keep your dirty brain. Keep your dirty mind out of.
I'll be quiet. Oh, jeez.
I just don't need to. Just give me your top. Give your number 4.
All right, my number 4 guy. If it wasn't for injuries, he'd be number 1 because his versatility is unmatched by anybody else, and that is Derwin James of the Los Angeles Chargers. About to say San Diego, but no, they're in LA now. When he bursted onto the scene as a rookie, you saw the potential he can have. He can play in the box. He can play in coverage. He has 4.4 speed. He can keep up with most receivers, and he can tackle inside the box. He's an aggressive player. He's phenomenal. He has ball skills. He has all of those things. The only problem I have with him is he's injury prone. He's been lost for a while, and I think he's missed 2 seasons. I know he's missed 1. He's missed most of his 2019 season, so I've chalked that up to 2 full seasons. And unfortunately, injuries just are a part of his play. Hopefully, with the additions they made, he can stay healthy and help this Chargers defense to become, with the potential they have, they could be a top 5 defense in this league.
All right, Jay Hill.
So for my number 4, you guys, I picked Justin Simmons from the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos, they really have improved a lot this offseason regarding the move for Russell Wilson and guarding their defense as well. But moving on with Justin Simmons, if you look at his stats, he's had 5 interceptions since. No, he's had at least 10. He's had 5 interceptions. He had 5 interceptions last season and 5 interceptions in 2020. So if you look at that here, that equals 10 right there in the last 2 years. So a guy like him at safety right there, I think that's mostly a big factor. And if you look at this season, I think he can definitely be a big rank and also make another Pro Bowl.
It's not a bad pick.
Is a very good pick. For that defense.
Yeah, I like Justin Simmons. He did make my list, but as for my number 4 pick, I do have Kevin Biard. I think he's been prototypically used very much at the free safety position. However, he's been every bit effective in that spot. And on a Titans defense that really needs production at the in the secondary, he does provide some level of stability in there and sort of that damage control level. And I really think that Kevin Biard is going to be a big piece for them, especially in a secondary, like I said, that really does not have much there. And I think he's going to help a lot.
Yeah, I think he will help. Kevin Biard is a good player for that Titans defense, and he showed up against the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams when they played each other. That was a rough night for LA.
Exactly, and I think that's going to continue. I think that's going to continue going into next year, and they're going to need it, as you know they were able to get Harold Landry back, but they really didn't improve too much on that defensive side. And on the offensive side, we can talk about how they traded away AJ Brown because of contract issues, and now looking at this whole team, they're really relying on Treylon Burks. Not to get too off topic, I know this is getting on the offensive side of the ball, but I'm talking about the team in general and what Kevin Biard means to them, because they're going to need defensive stops, and Kevin Biard is going to be big on limiting the damage. You're a free safety, so you want to make sure that if any blown coverages happen, that you limit whatever happens. So I really like him, but. Tuck, give me your number 3 safety going into 2022.
I've been battling between 2 safeties because I think they're interchangeable. And it pains me, but I have Marcus Williams number 3. The reason I have him number 3 is because I have another safety ahead of him, which I don't like because he's very good for a rival. Hint, hint. But I have Marcus Williams number 3. He is phenomenal when he was with the Saints, even though he did have that one botch against Minnesota in the playoffs. We don't need to talk about that. But overall, he's been a spectacular player for the Saints in that defense. And we need the playmaking abilities that he possessed in Baltimore, because if you look at the safety position in Baltimore before he arrived, we didn't have the necessary playmaking abilities that we needed. I appreciate that we have Chuck Clark, but he's not a ball-hawking safety. Until that Rams game, I always thought he had stones for hands because he just couldn't catch anything. So now that we have Marcus Williams, who actually has quite a bit of interceptions to his resume, despite only having 2 last year, I appreciate the playmaking abilities that he has and his coverage abilities in zone and when he's, in the middle of the field. So hopefully we can use him in that department. And also we tend to blitz a lot. So if we can send him on blitzes and him to get home on a few of them, that would be nice. Overall, I think it's going to be a great fit for him in the Baltimore Ravens.
You add in Marcus Williams to a secondary that already features top draft prospect Kyle Hamilton, and you have possibly the best safety tandem in the entire league. Well, depending on how Kyle Hamilton pans out, but you have that's going to be lethal going into next year. But Jay Hill, who's your number 3?
So for my number 3, Adam, I have Quadray Digs. This is kind of surprising, but I'm going to put him at number 3. I say this because for Quadray Diggs, he has a lot of expectation for this season regarding with the Seahawks after losing Russell Wilson. But regarding defense, I think he'll definitely make a big presence this season. Why? Because you're alongside with Jamal Adams and the crew. But getting to him, he had 5 interceptions last year, and I think the year before. So if you look at him this season, I think he'll definitely make a great impact towards Pete Carroll and the Seahawks defense. However, you're in a tough division as well. But at the exact same time, did he waste his years with the Detroit Lions? Yes. But I think this year, including for years to come, he's going to definitely make a huge impact for the safety unit in Seattle.
See, Quadray Diggs is a very underrated safety, but number 3, that's bold. That is bold.
That's an interesting one. You think he's better than his safety tandem partner Jamal Adams, Blitz boy?
Well, if you look at Jamal Adams, Justin, like this guy, not to say nothing negative, but he hasn't shown me for the last 2 seasons that he's like one of the best. Was he one of the best when he's with the New York Jets? Absolutely. But last season, there was a couple games last year that he could have definitely had an interception and make a key play. But for the amount of money he makes, is he worth it? Yes, in the clutch, but in the the last 2 years, no.
Right.
Yeah,
just making sure.
And
I'm not sure if he's better than. I'm not sure Quadray Ismail is better outright, but yeah, that's fair.
And I think so when me and you were doing player rankings last year and we were doing top 10, I believe did he make our top 5? I don't think he made my top 5. He was in the back half, I believe, for me. But it was just the fact that after he got traded to the Seahawks, I don't know if it's the defensive scheme that they run, but he was not the same guy as he was when he was a Jet. When he was a Jet, he was one of the top 2-3 safeties in the league, possibly. And now we're looking at it, and he's not even in any of our top 5s. I don't know. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but he's not in mine.
He did not make more.
But my number 3 is Jesse Bates. And you like that, Tuck? You like that, Tuck?
He didn't make mine.
All right. Look, Jesse Bates is a very good player. He can play in coverage. He can do all different things for them. And like I said, and here's another safety on a defense who really needs him to come through. And for a Bengals team that's really looking to contend, and Jesse Bates is a lockdown guy, and they really, really need to hold on to him. I know they still haven't signed him to a long-term deal as he's still under the franchise tag, but this is a guy who you need to hold on to because he's been one of your more reliable guys in the secondary, unlike a certain guy with the last name that's the same as a fruit. We'll leave it at that much. Eli Apple. But yeah, I have Jesse Bates as my number 3 guy. I've always liked Jesse Bates, and I think he'll help them out.
He should. I mean, he should help Eli Apple as much as he can. My God. But enough of that. I'm done talking about Bengals players until next season.
Jesse Bates provides safety help to Eli Apple so that he can go on Twitter and brag. We'll say that much. Even though I think you and I can both agree that he should not be on the team anymore. Eli Apple.
No, let him be on the team.
You want him to be on the team because you want him to.
On the team.
You want him to be on the team because you want your Ravens to burn him.
Give him a 5-year, $100 million contract.
Well, Jesse, you can't be burned by you. Jesse Bates can't get burned in a secondary if your quarterback runs all the time. Just saying. And you do have Marquise Brown.
You don't even have an OC in New England. Who knows? Your quarterback might run all the time.
We're not talking about my quarterback.
Then don't run
Mac Jones, let him take his time. I feel like Patrick in that one SpongeBob episode when he enters a rock into the race. It's okay, Rocky. Take your time. It's Mac Jones. Give him some time. Give him a couple of years, and he'll be elite. Just don't have a defensive coordinator calling plays. Good Lord, is that crazy? But give me your. All right, we're already getting down to the wire here on our top 5. Give me your number 2.
From one division rival safety to another, my number 2 guy is Minka Fitzpatrick. Minka Fitzpatrick is without question, unfortunately, the best safety in the AFC North, unless Marcus Peters shows me that he can do the same things in New Orleans that he did. I mean, the same.
Marcus Williams.
Marcus Williams did the same things in New Orleans that he can do here. Hopefully that is the case. Then he will definitely be number 2. On God, he will. But until then, Minka Fitzpatrick is the number 2 corner to me. He's the best corner in the division. He has speed. He has a ball hawk, and he has the ability to take it to the house all in one. It's troublesome to throw it deep against him because if you're not careful, he will take the ball away. He limits what offenses can and can't do. He's an intelligent football player. He reads the game well, and got to be very cautious with him, unfortunately. All right, I've said enough about him. I said enough. Justin, you're up.
So for my number 2, guys, you already said him, Adam, at number 4. So mine is Kevin Bayard. I don't know what's up with my language today, man. We all have those things. But Kevin Bayard, I say this because, number 1, regarding with him, it's like what you said before, Adam. He had a terrific game against the Rams, that one game this season. But all said and done, last season. But all said and done, he's a great safety. Why? Because in Tennessee right now, they're going through a little bit of trouble regarding their organization. But at the same exact time, he's been with the organization for the last 6 to 7 years. So having a long-time player like him that's still playing on his level and in the discussion as one of the best safeties, top 3 or top 1 in the league, it speaks for itself right there. So regarding with him, he's my number 2.
All right. So my number 2 is Tyron Matthew.
Oh.
Tyron Matthew. I'm going to be honest. I thought once at the end of his days in Arizona and in Houston, he was going through a lot of injury troubles. I thought his career was done. I thought this is another promising career hampered by injuries. And we're going to look back on, it's like a Derrick Rose type story. We're going to look back at what could have been. And he has recovered from that. And been able to recover from it to a point where he's back. He's yet once again one of the best safeties in the game, and he was such a difference maker for Kansas City that he was able to help that team get to a championship and win it. Because before Tyron Matthew went to the team, there was a lot of instability. Is that even a word?
Instability is a word.
Is it? Am I using it correctly?
I believe so. You're using it correctly. I'm not sure if it's applicable to the Kansas City Chiefs, but their defense was unstable.
The defensive backfield after the 2018 season was unstable, and a decent Patriots offense was able to take the top off of them and win it in Arrowhead in overtime. And so some changes had to be done. And they brought in Tyron Matthew. Tyron Matthew turned out to return. It turns out he was able to return to his former self, and he helped them win a championship. They also added a couple other pieces. They brought in Frank Clark. Justin Houston left the team. I'm forgetting his last name was Ford. His last name was Ford. And it was that one D Ford jumped off sides, and he didn't even know he was. He was a full 6 inches off sides. And it was like they said I was off sides. Was I? Like, dude, have a clue. But we're talking about the safety. Tyron Matthew was a big difference maker there. And for them to be able to replace Marcus Williams with Tyron Matthew, that's huge for me, and I like him.
So Tyron Matthew is one of my favorite safeties as well, Adam. He wasn't in my top 10 in this discussion. He is at number 7 on my list if we ever did a top 10. But however, with Tyron Matthew, he had great moments with the Chiefs. Let's not take that away. Yeah. But in the last 2 seasons, in my opinion, he wasn't really good. Why? Because the Chiefs, I forgot what rank they were. I think they were like 15 and giving up touchdowns in the last, I think it was last season, and like I forgot the year before. However, there were key moments this year where Tyron Matthew could have gotten an interception. We're talking about in Super Bowl 54. We're talking about in the AFC Championship game against the Bengals. Is he a top 10 safety? Yes, absolutely. But like up there, in my opinion, no.
Oh, I think he is. It's just depending on what your preference is. If you're arguing for Tyron Matthew, you're arguing for leadership and stability.
Leadership, I give yes. Leadership, yes. But in the clutch, no.
Look, I think a lot of it's not his fault. Like, I mean, everywhere else in that defensive backfield last year, it was just really, really lackluster. I mean, they lost that one kid, and I'm forgetting his name. They lost that one corner they had, and it's not going to be that big of a loss because he really wasn't that good.
Not to get on memory lane, Adam, but I think you remember this. Remember the play with Tom Brady threw to Antonio Brown in the Super Bowl, knowing that wasn't really a play? He could have literally read Antonio Brown and got an interception, maybe put the Chiefs back in the game. But this year, do I expect more from him since he's going to be playing for his hometown team? Absolutely, no question. But top 5, no.
Look, and I think it was CJ Ward. His last name was Ward. I'm just trying to figure that out. But I mean, that just wasn't the way the play was drawn up. I mean, there's not much I can say. Not much I can say about that. And like, I want to know who is placed to cover him. And I don't know. It just didn't. It's just something that just didn't. And even if he was burned on that play, and you need to pull up the play, because I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
The touchdown before halftime.
Touchdown. I'll have to go back and look at it. But
not the block one, the one after that one.
But even so, I mean, everyone has a bad play every now and then. I mean, we were looking at Stephon Gilmore as one of the top corners in the league a couple of years ago, and even then he was getting burned every now and then. I mean, it happens. We're at a point in the league now where if you put one of the best wide receivers of all time on one of the best corners or safeties, then usually the wide receiver wins. That's just the way it is now. And you very rarely run into a corner or a safety who's able to actually erase their top threat, because some wide receivers nowadays are just too good. And you're looking at it in the draft, you're seeing all these wide receivers who are like, every team has great wide receivers. I don't know what it is about the wide receiver position that's changed, but the production there has just increased dramatically. And it's just one of those things where, I mean, everyone's going to get burned. That doesn't make you not a great corner or safety. It just makes you, stuff happens.
Oh, no question. Everyone gets burnt now and then. We saw Jalen Ramsey get burnt by, I forget his name, in the Super Bowl. Everyone has their moment, but in my eyes, top 5 now.
All right, talk.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with him right now. I was debating where to put Tyron Matthew, but I was like, he's 6 right now. My number 1 guy is Justin Simmons. I like the way he plays. Is he your number 1 guy too, Adam?
I that is classified information until I reveal my number 1.
But he's my number 1 guy. He plays Patrick Mahomes very well. He always seems to puzzle Patrick Mahomes, even though they may not always win the matchup. He always gives Patrick Mahomes challenges. If you're giving this one of the best quarterbacks in the league problems, you're doing something right. I like how he studies film. I like the way he passes receivers in coverage. I like the way how he's a playmaker and isn't afraid to make a tackle. All those things wrapped up, I think he's the best safety right now, even though his talents might be a little bit wasted in Denver. But we'll see with the addition of Russell Wilson.
All right, Jay Hill, who's your number 1?
So for my number 1, it's going to be a complete shocker to you guys, and I know I said a lot about him after the NFC playoff game loss, but my number 1 has to be Antoine Winfield Jr. And I say,
what?
Whoa!
Listen.
Okay.
No.
All right. Let's hear him out.
Listen. So I did some deep digging for the last 24 hours regarding who I'm going to pick with him. But looking at his playoff stats and looking at his stats this season, he did a pretty good job regarding that. I say it's because regarding with the Buccaneers, they have the best defenses in the league besides the LA Rams. But if you look at him, yes, did he give up a huge play to Cooper Kupp in the remaining of the NFC game, like we were just talking about with like every player has a moment? Yes, but for him, I think with him, he knows how to read players on defense. I think he's a great player, but I think he'll definitely have a big impact this year.
All right. So yeah, I thought Quadray Digs being number 3 was bold, but wow. Antoine Winfield,
even bolder.
And I like Antoine Winfield. Don't get me wrong. I just don't have him in my top 5. He's like, I've always been a big 10. Antoine Winfield guy. He's in my top 10.
Yeah.
Him and Jordan Whitehead have been very solid for them, for the Tampa Bay Bucs. However, it's just not. He's good, and maybe it was partially on Tampa for placing Antoine Winfield 1-on-1 in the divisional round at the end of that game against Cooper Kupp. But if you are one of the elite safeties, like the top safeties in the league, you don't get burned that bad. Like I'd understand if it were like if Cooper Kupp was barely able to get open, but it's very hard to get more wide open than Cooper Kupp did during that game. He torched the Buccaneers secondary.
Not to cut you off, but like we were just talking about like our last segment about like everyone has the moment. Yes, he did get burnt out. Let's not take that away. But at the end of the day, before he got burnt out, he was one of, like, in my opinion, a great corner. Not in that game. It's like what you said before, Adam. Every player has their moment. But I think this year, I think the losses you take, it makes you a better person. No question. But I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, and I said I like Antoine Winfield. I'm just looking at the best of the best. I just don't have him there. But my number one is what Tuck's number one is, and that is Justin Simmons. And I guess the only thing I could add on to that is, so I liked Tyron Matthew because he was a big time difference maker in that secondary, which is exactly what Justin Simmons is. He's a difference maker. He's arguably not only the best safety. Not even argue. He is the best safety on that team, but he's arguably the best guy in that secondary, which is very hard to find because usually corners make a bigger impact than the safeties. But Justin Simmons, oh no, don't let's not kid ourselves. Justin Simmons is, I mean, like you said, Justin. His Tuck, the fact that he's able to give Patrick Mahomes issues as a safety just speaks volumes to me. And his career has been wasted so far. But this Broncos team is bound to be competitive this year. They just got a better quarterback, which has been their main issue. Their defense is great, and that offensive line's awesome. They're locked and loaded and ready to go for the 2022 season. And so is Justin Simmons as my number one safety going into this year. So there you have it. Two of us had Justin Simmons. Another one had Antoine Winfield. So we didn't see that coming.
I put Simmons. I think I put Simmons at number 4. I was debating if I should put him at 2 or 3, but I was like, I'm put him at 4. But Simmons I like you guys' takes.
Simmons at 4, Antoine Winfield at 1, Quadray Digs at 3. Oh my God, jeez,
that's an interesting list, isn't it? And your number 5 was Marcus Williams, and your number 2. Who's your number 2?
You could do a switch a few names around and you'd be fine.
No, my number 2. I got my list right here. It was Kevin Biard.
Kevin Biard.
Yeah, that was my number.
That's a solid one. I had him 4.
Yeah,
I had him 4. The thing with safeties is you can find a lot of really good safeties in this league. It's very hard to rank them all. I found it's one of those positions where there's a lot of good ones out there, and it's hard to round out your top 5. Because there's so many good ones. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of underrated ones. We're going to get to the fan box where we're able to cover the most underrated safeties in the NFL. And you're going to find some that didn't make any of our lists. And this is a really good one. That being said, we will get on to the fan box. Don't go anywhere. This is the Fumblerooski Podcast.
Way down the field to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown.
Welcome back to the Fumblerooski Podcast. I'm Adam Wright. Justin Tucker, Justin Hill. So we have the Justins with us. So we are on to our fan box. So what happens is we post a question filter on our Instagram every Monday, and you can respond with hot takes, questions, and more. And we will discuss it and give you a shout out on our podcast. So respond to next week's fan box question to be featured on our show. So our question of the week was, who is the most underrated safety in the NFL? So we had, like I said, going before this segment, a lot of names that none of us picked, which is why I kind of wanted to say who is the most underrated, because a lot of people are going to pick who the best are. and that will prompt a lot of the same answers. However, if we ask who are the most underrated, we're getting a little bit of a best of the rest, a little bit of an appreciation post for guys who may not be top 5, but are guys who really do deserve recognition. So our first response was from Nick Normand, who said, "Come on, man, it's Minka. Not even a 90 in Madden, and he's only 25 years old." That is one who I was really, really debating on putting in my top 5, and he just didn't get in there because there was too many who I liked, and I also low-key kind of wanted to leave him out so that Nick could talk about him. But you talk about a guy, he makes a great impact on the game. He's young, and he's severely underrated. And I believe only Tuck had him in our top 5. But do you guys have anything else to say about Minka Fitzpatrick?
No, I've spoken about him plenty. I'm not speaking any further about Steelers players. Can't do it.
Yeah, it was painful to watch the first time you talked about it. But yeah, so Jackson Ivory said Quadray Digs. This is Jay Hill's number 3 guy. So I really like all jokes aside, he is a very underrated corner. Excuse me. He's an underrated safety. And this is a guy who's going to be a big part of that secondary, which has been very lackluster in the past few years, ever since the Legion of Boom broke up for the Seattle Seahawks. But I do like Quadray Diggs. He's a solid. Once he moved over to free safety, then he really started to come out as a solid player, and he's been to back-to-back Pro Bowls. So I do like him. I don't know. I disagree with top 5. But Jack Hartman said John Johnson III. So he's the safety for the Cleveland Browns. So there's another AFC North team for you, Tuck.
Yeah, of course. We always have good players in our division. Tough defensive players in our division. But yeah, he is underrated. But he just came, I think a season ago, he just came over from the Rams, so he missed out on a Super Bowl. That's tough. He's going to miss out on another one because they're not winning the division nor making it to the playoffs because our division is just tough. So it is what it is. But he is a very good player for that team. Very underrated.
That is a tough division, though. But we can probably guarantee one thing, given barring some Kenny Pickett breakout season, that they can at least finish 3rd. They'll at least be 3rd. I
can't guarantee that. The Steelers don't finish below 500.
Yeah, but I mean, it has to happen sometime, and
they
just haven't been.
Jones.
They've just
500.
Sure, but it's got to happen sometime, and I'm not a big believer of this quarterback draft. So Kalen Patel said, "Is it Kazi? I'm not familiar with this player."
Monte Kazi. Yep, Dallas Cowboys safety. He's not cursed, but he's not bad. He's actually a good safety. He was a nice pickup for them. He helped improve that defense.
So yeah, I do know he is going to. I just don't know the pronunciation, but I do know he is going to Pittsburgh. So for him to join Minka Fitzpatrick in that secondary is a very good addition.
Then forget it. Forget what I just said. Forget what I just said.
What part? Oh, yeah, because you don't
revolving around him.
You can't say anything positive about any division rivals.
Can't do it.
Man, AFC North rivalries just hit different. I don't think I've ever felt so ill-willed toward a team that I can't even speak positively about their players. I
respect their players. I just can't stand them during the season. I just can't do it.
All right. Well, Derek Houle said Jordan Whitehead was a wrecking ball for Tampa, underappreciated among Tampa Bay stars. So you talk about a very underrated safety, he was underrated just in that backfield. Like if you look at just the team in general, like, and you talk about, there's been a lot of talk about how in the past couple of years, the Bucs have had a loaded roster. No one mentions Jordan Whitehead. No one.
No.
And Jordan Whitehead, and he joins Antoine Winfield, Jay Hill's number 1 safety, in a very, very solid safety tandem, even though now he's a New York Jet. But that was a solid tandem for them. But Tyson Tate said Harrison Smith doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. So Harrison Smith is a guy who didn't make my top, another guy who didn't make my top 5, just because he's just outside it. He's a little bit old, and he's a player who's very, very, he provides stability, which is good. That earns points with me, and he's solid. He's just not a big time difference maker. I need a guy where you look at him and he automatically just changes that secondary. And I just don't think Harrison Smith does that.
He does.
All right.
You just don't see it. He does.
All right. That Viking secondary is just brutal. And that's not to blame Harrison Smith. I know. But I don't know. Maybe my standards are just very high for safeties.
He won in the game against the Steelers. I think that's being fair.
Yeah. But Ian Malern said Eddie Jackson. So Eddie Jackson's a good one. I do like him. And I will say he's only underrated because of injuries.
Yeah. If injuries don't derail him, he'll be a top 5 safety sooner rather than later again, if he can stay healthy.
Definitely. CJ, our boy CJ. And by the way, happy birthday, CJ. His birthday was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's 20 now.
Boy is 20. He's just a year off from drinking age.
Don't say that.
What's that?
Don't say that.
What's wrong with it? Oh, boy can open up his first drink legally.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good milestone. That's a great milestone. 21.
Go ahead.
All right. So CJ did say, check last year's stats. Kyle Duggar deserves some respect. I really like Kyle Duggar. When he was drafted as a D2 safety, I was ready to throw things.
Of course,
as a Patriots fan. But as his rookie season has gone on, wow, that guy can actually really cover. He's really good. I really like him, and he's been able to cover some big names. I remember he was on Travis Kelce one game during his rookie season, and he was actually able to somewhat make Travis Kelce disappear, which is unheard of, especially for a safety. Wow. Incredible. And can I bring up one other name now that we're on to the New England Patriots? Gabriel Peppers.
Yeah, but he just came off an injury, so we got to wait on that.
Underrated name, and he's going to a secondary that desperately needs help after the departure of J.C. Jackson. And you got to guess that the names of Jalen Mills and the Jalen Mills, the Malcolm Butlers, and the I'm forgetting the other corner, the Jonathan Joneses of the world are going to need some serious safety help. And Kyle Duggar and Gabriel Peppers, I am just so glad that they are back there for cleanup, if that makes sense.
All could have been avoided if you just would have paid J.C. Jackson.
I just don't think he's worth being paid that much.
Okay.
What they should have done was drafted. They should have drafted one of the corners in this draft. There's Andrew Booth lasted to the second round.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the other guy.
They could have had Kyer Elon. There's still another name I'm just blanking on. There was another name.
Who? It was the guy who was whoever the Kansas City Chiefs picked at number 21. They took him, and I was like, oof.
I thought that was Kyer Elam.
It wasn't Kyer Elam. But yeah, regardless. Regardless, this is a guy who he's Gabriel Peppers is really going to help.
Oh, Trent McDuffie.
Trent McDuffie. There you go. That's the guy. We don't need to talk about that more. But do we have any other thoughts before we end the show tonight?
No, I'm good. I've talked enough.
Jay Hill?
Oh, no, nothing, Adam.
All right. Well, a couple of other things around the league. Akeem Hicks has signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which essentially means that Ndamukong Suh is not returning to Tampa Bay, and he joins a loaded front seven with the likes of Vita Vea, and I believe it was Jordan Hall. Is that the name? That's the name of the kid who they took in the second round. That's their run defense is going to be impenetrable. And they'll also be able to have some ability to get to the quarterback. Not quite as much as if they had JPP, but they do have Shaq Barrett as well. So they have some pieces. And I think that defense is going to we're going to have a lot more balance on that team. There's not much discipline because they're just not a very disciplined football team, but very, very balanced, good offense. Another thing going on, another lawsuit against Deshaun Watson.
That's 23rd. That's the 23rd one.
Number 23. So these just continue to pile up. And whether you agree with it or not, the more these pile up, the bigger the chance of Deshaun Watson being suspended by the NFL
for a season. If he gets suspended by the season, the Browns might have to rely on Baker. But Baker may not want to play for them anyhow. So it's like
so they've really backed themselves into a corner here.
They better pray it doesn't bite them in the butt.
Now again,
he's only out for 4 games, or he avoids suspension.
Now again, whether you agree with it or not, evidence does matter, but the fact that he's been accused by 23 different people of assault, not a good look for this guy. Not a good look at all. And I know innocent until proven guilty, but the league has proven time and time again that evidence does not matter. And if they feel that they need to suspend you, then they'll do that. They've done it before. They did it with Tom Brady. They did it with Ezekiel Elliott. They'll do it with Deshaun Watson, especially with 23 cases. Like, Jesus, that's bad. That's not good.
But all of them are dismissed in criminal court. So it's all of them except the one that was just filed. We'll see where it goes. But again, it's just a matter of what the league wants to do with it now.
Right. And speaking of legal troubles, we do have more on Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, who had his charges dismissed. So he could, again, still face disciplinary action, much smaller chance than Deshaun Watson, who's facing 23 different civil lawsuits. But Jerry Jeudy, that's good news for him. I believe, I'm forgetting what it was he did. He got
charged of domestic violence. It
wasn't domestic violence. It was something revolving around
child.
But yeah, he's all set. So, and also there was and we were talking about this on the show. There was Aaron Donald. He went out and on a podcast and he said, if I don't get a restructured deal, I might retire. So we'll talk about that if that happens. And if there's a restructure of the deal, we'll also talk about that. But it's all talk at this point, but nothing big going on. So obviously we want to give you some NFL content to hold you guys over until the season starts, and we're taking you all the way up to preseason. So we'll be right here with you this summer while you guys struggle with this summer with your football content, but we will give you what you need. So there's no worries about that. But anyways, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for listening to us. Be sure to tune in to us live Tuesdays and Thursdays on Twitter and Facebook through Fans Only Sports Network. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also have all our episodes available on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and so much more. Also, be sure to follow our Instagram at Fumblerooski_podcast to keep up with our podcast and the latest coverage on the NFL. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Over and out.
Bye-bye.